Look, obviously, there's a great debate about subcutaneous TRT injections and intramuscular TRT injections. We do know one thing. Prior to the new age modern TRT stuff, we've always done intramuscular injections. In fact, nearly every medicine that is supposed to be administered to a person where they want to get efficient uptake of that medicine is given intramuscularly. That's how we've done it for decades or more. But there are some studies on subcutaneous injections, and I actually want to take this opportunity to break those studies down, because I think what people make the mistake of doing is looking at those studies and being like, look, this says it's preferable, similar, effectively no real difference, compared to intramuscular injections, and that's just not true. I can tell you that as a coach in TRT, specifically fixing sexual dysfunction for guys that are on testosterone replacement therapy, the two, intramuscular, subcutaneous injections, are not the same. So we're going to do a systems breakdown, a literature breakdown of the subcutaneous TRT injection studies so that we can really analyze, is it viable for you to do them? What do the studies actually say? And more importantly, regarding your libido, what do the studies not say? To make an overall assessment, which is better? Intramuscular or sub-Q injections for TRT? Stick around. Let's get into this, boys. All right, before we start the video, Cortex Labs, which is my company, is a coaching and consulting and products company specifically on TRT. Two major announcements. Number one, High Dose TRT Mastery has officially launched. It is the video course you need if you want a high-dose test, get the anabolic effects, but also have insane libido and erections. About an hour long, just launched, 20% off, codes on the screen. It is yours now. In the description of this video, go get it. Thank me later. Coaching is 50% off for the first time in nearly a year. We run these once a year. If you need to book me for a 3 or 6 month ongoing one-on-one protocol engineering package, it is 50% off. Code is on the screen. You're saving thousands of dollars, and you and me are on the fact-finding call as soon as the next day, and we start. You need to fix libido and erection issues and dial in permanently on TRT. I'm your guy. Believe me, we get results, and I'd love to have you on board. Now, at the outset, studies like this make subcutaneous injections actually look attractive. This is titled Comparison of Outcomes for Hypogonadal Men Treated with Intramuscular Testosterone Cypionate versus Subcutaneous Testosterone Enanthate. And what they conclude is while intramuscular and sub-Q provide a significant increase in total testosterone levels, subcutaneous injections are associated with lower levels of post-therapy hematocrit and compared to intramuscular injections after adjusting for significant covariates. They end up concluding subcutaneous injections are an effective testosterone delivery system with a potentially preferable safety profile over intramuscular injections. Now, let's just look at that last statement for a second. Potentially preferable safety profile. Intramuscular injections have been done safely for decades. Sub-Q is not any more safe than intramuscular because you may end up with slightly lower hematocrit. None of this really talks about frequency, and frequency has a lot to do with hematocrit. If you inject less frequently, you get a trough, which means less red blood cell production, ultimately over the effect duration window of your injection, and in the end, the average of hematocrit typically tends to be lower. All right, now let's examine this one. This is actually the big one, boys. Testosterone therapy with subcutaneous injections, a safe, practical, and reasonable option. Now, this is a big, long, exhaustive piece of literature with various graphs, various bullet points, and various points. But I'm going to summarize what the literature actually tells us and discuss some of the main points. Number one, subcutaneous injections of TRT work just as well as intramuscular testosterone. Okay, that's one of the main points the studies say. And some of the things they cite are multiple studies have demonstrated that therapeutic testosterone levels are achieved with subcutaneous injections. Second major point, testosterone levels remain remarkably stable. Okay, that's one of the biggest findings. Weekly, not daily, just to understand the context, weekly subcutaneous injections produce relatively stable serum testosterone. There are far smaller fluctuations and levels remain generally within the therapeutic range throughout the dosing interval. Again, looks attractive. We're going to get to why it's not. Here's a major point, and another point of the study. Patients overwhelmingly prefer subcutaneous injections. Okay, across the studies, they're less painful, they're easier to self-administer, there's less anxiety, there's higher satisfaction, and there's better adherence. Next point, weekly sub-Q injections often achieve excellent testosterone levels. The doses in the study were 50 milligrams a week, 75 milligrams a week, 100 milligrams a week, and 150 milligrams a week. Okay, if you inject that once a week, you're going to achieve excellent testosterone levels. No one's debating that. In the end, the review concludes that subcutaneous injections are clinically equivalent to intramuscular injections for most patients, but not all. But it does not claim that flatter hormone exposure produces better libido, better erections, better sexual function, or better anything other than mildly lower hematocrit. But in this particular study, hematocrit levels were actually comparable between intramuscular and subcutaneous injections. That's kind of out the window. Less painful, easier to administer, less anxiety, higher satisfaction, better adherence. Got it. But I'll leave you with one question. If injecting sub-Q and getting a flatter, more stable hormone profile equals less of a peak in everything, which is essentially what that means, which would equal less androgen receptor activation at one given time and a different gene expression profile in terms of androgenicity, and therefore your libido, your erections, your anabolism are substantially less good than on an intramuscular injection, is it worth it because it's less painful or easier to administer, or you have less anxiety when you go to inject? The answer is no. If you would rather have it be easier so that you don't have to put a 1.5 inch needle into your vastus lateralis or your glute, and you're willing to do that and have subpar results, you're doing TRT wrong. The real question is, aside from the studies which don't go into sexual function at all, and have these surface level like pseudo benefits which are not proven to be better, i.e. flatter, stable hormone levels, what do people say? And what are people's actual experiences? Well, let's go to Reddit. Here's the comment on a sub-Q thread. Sub-Q hurts more per shot, but the pain goes away much faster. Yeah, this is true. Generally, you're going to get more PIP with sub-Q. You can inject more frequently without causing damage, like what can happen with IM. I guess he's talking about like muscle damage, scar tissue, things of that nature. It will, for many people, lessen E2 side effects. Yeah, probably because there's no major peak, but not for everyone. For me, it actually made my E2 higher at the same weekly dose. Now, why would that happen? Because with subcutaneous injections, you get no trough whatsoever generally, and you are constantly overlapping the hydrolysis of testosterone cypionate into testosterone, the separation from the ester, and overlapping, therefore, presumably, hormone levels at the tissue level. What would be better for sexual function, considering estradiol in excess amounts compared to your androgens causes erectile dysfunction and libido dysfunction, as well as climax and sensation dysfunction? A break from said estradiol or continuous estradiol to tissues? The answer is a break. I've seen this in coaching for years and years. It's why I'm largely a proponent of less frequent injections for the folks that have tried sub-Q, tried daily, and it's not working for them. It's about what the people say, what people experience. Those studies tell us absolutely nothing about the efficacy of symptom relief when it comes to sub-Q versus intramuscular. Nothing. But anecdotals, my experience as a coach and a lot of yours experience out there tells us the answer. Intramuscular usually wins. And then there's stuff like this, right? It's people that are reading those studies and hearing the gospel on YouTube, and all these people who think that sub-Q should be the way you inject testosterone, even though we've been doing it intramuscular forever, and every medicine is injected intramuscularly, basically. This thread is titled, "Is there anyone who switched from IM to sub-Q and had better libido?" So it's a person that wants to do that. Why? You're afraid of injecting yourself with a needle? You should probably get off TRT if you're that way. You know why? Because you want stable hormone levels? Why? Because someone told you that's better? It's generally not, and the human body, the male body, was not designed for that. We're designed for peaks and troughs. Actually, we became accustomed to that based on our natural luteinizing hormone pulsatile secretion, not steady secretion, pulsatile secretion. The first comment literally tells the point that I am trying to explain to folks. I tried sub-Q, my libido went way down. on SUBQ. This is serious, right? Libido is so a significant benefit of TRT. And if you're not getting it, you feel not dialed in, you have a problem, you rack your brain about it. If you're a single guy dating, that's a problem. If you're a guy with a girlfriend, that's a problem. If you're a guy with a wife, that's a problem. If you're a guy with an otherwise partner, that is a problem to lack libido. Guy goes, I switched back to IM and literally woke up with a raging Woody the morning after switching back to intramuscular injection. SUBQ either doesn't absorb great, which I don't think is the case, as I feel good in the gym. However, my libido was shit. So I think it's just that stable levels that it creates is what we actually need to, isn't what we need to feel good. Slightly more ups and downs and releasing into the blood faster makes my libido far better. Now, I mean, you're going to see anecdotals on both sides, but generally there's a disproportionate amount of people who tried SUBQ and libido went down the drain. Why did this happen? It's simple, because all of the benefits that are purported to be godlike that you should switch to SUBQ for are related to less peaks in testosterone and more of an even keel, stable everything. But it is the peaks in AR binding, in DHT conversion, in local DHT in the penis, in tyrosine hydroxylase expression in the brain, which makes you convert more dopamine from tyrosine. These are the things in the peaks that are fashioned with intramuscular that drive libido in males on TRT. Just like we're accustomed to when we're natural. We peak in the morning, we start troughing at night. We peak in the morning, we start troughing at night. Biology works that way for a very specific set of reasons, one of which is to keep your T, DHT, and estrogen ratios in a favorable place so that you don't have sexual dysfunction. What's the major point of this video? The studies do not prove by any stretch that subcutaneous injections, like actively in terms of symptom relief and resolution, in terms of libido, erection quality, general sexual function, are better. They actually don't mention it at all, which I find peculiar, because one of the major purposes people go on TRT is reviving their sexual function. So I just want people to have the correct information. Nowhere do the studies support better libido and better erections on subcutaneous injections. And in fact, the anecdotals and all of my coaching experience support that intramuscular injections, particularly infrequent ones with larger boluses of testosterone, are far better for the sexual system than SUBQ daily or SUBQ weekly. I wanted to make it a point to look at some of these studies, and in future videos, we're going to look at more to make sure everybody understands what they're saying and what they're not saying, specifically regarding sexual function, and comparing that with real people's results. People have to understand the studies can say one thing, or they can make something look better, but is it really better? The answer is no. The answer is no. Listen, unless you're doing daily low-dose injections, inject into the muscle. That is my bottom line. That will stay my bottom line, and that has generally always been my bottom line. Get into the vascular tissue, create peaks and troughs like your natural body is designed to do and is accustomed to, and you're going to have a lot better experience on TRT. Listen, boys, all of our digital products, including the newly launched high-dose TRT Mastery, are 20% off. I'm going to give you a coupon code flash in front of the screen. This is the course you guys have been waiting for, okay? It's an hour straight of good stuff. Breaking down megadosing TRT, achieving supercharged libido and erections on high doses, enjoying sports TRT or mid-level cycle level anabolism and strength, and exposing daily injections as inferior. In fact, this clears everything up for you. But importantly, if you want the benefits of TRT to truly be dialed in, you have to get this course. I'll show you how. All right, it's 20% off. Codes on the screen and down the description of this video. Secondarily, coaching is 50% off. We run these once a year. Look, I'm a TRT coach. I get results. I pride myself on getting results. That is all I focus on. You give me 3 months or you give me 6 months, and I promise you we will revive a dead libido. We'll revive dead erections. We will supercharge sexual function. We will get you dialed in. This is a results-driven systems process to doing what works, and coaching is 50% off with the code on the screen. Right now, you'll save thousands of dollars on the 3 or 6 month program. You can book me in under a minute. You and I are on the fact-finding call within a day, brother, and then we start. I'd love to have you on board. Let's go. Go grab source list for any of your ancillaries that you may need. It is in the description of this video or livecortex.com. And we got other courses like Mastering Testosterone Cypionate for libido and erections on TRT, Mastering Testosterone Cream for libido and erections on TRT, both video courses. Get everything down in the description of this video or at livecortex.com. And brother, thank me later. All right, it's been epic hanging out with you. Do me 2 favors. Like the video. Makes a huge difference, honestly, for the algorithm. If you're here and you want to show appreciation for what we're doing, and I need you to, hit the like button, brother. Please hit the like button. Sub to the channel. If anything I said truly resonated with you, if you'd like to see more, this is all we talk about, man. We'll straighten your protocol out. Stay with me. Sub to the channel. Otherwise, I'll leave you with one more video that ties this all in together that I think you're going to want to watch, which isn't long at all, that will put the picture together in a real refined way. I'd love you to click on it and go watch it. Kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your day. And brother, I'll talk to you on the next one.